What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Favale coming at you with the one, the only, my certified fantabulous co-host, Mr. Grant Hughes. More playoffs to talk about and more sad news to talk about, unfortunately, with Jayson Tatum. We'll probably dig into that first. Before we belly flop into it all, though, Grant, how the heck are you?
I'm a little taken aback at like how many big news things happened all in one day or like 136-hour stretch. So we got a lot to get through. So it's not about me. It's about the pod today.
Jayson Tatum, fourth quarter injury against the Knicks, goes after a loose ball, like off a Jaylen Brown turnover. On the replay, it looked like an Achilles. His reaction was gut-wrenching. As we're recording this, we do not have any confirmation as to what the injury actually is, but I felt like his reaction actually said it all. And I don't know how to feel. I know that these are players that are in the public eye, but when you see sort of the trauma content of him in a wheelchair with his hands in his like face, maybe crying, it resonates for sure, but it also feels like intrusive upon what should be a really intimate personal moment. And now it's just going around for everyone to see. It's, you hope for the best, but like this seems like a worst case scenario that's going to have ramifications on the Celtics well beyond this series against the Knicks.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. I mean, I texted you. What did I say? Like broken foot question or something like that? Because I hadn't seen the angle that made it fairly. I mean, not fairly. Made it very clear the Achilles was involved. I'd seen the above, like the bird's eye angle when I texted you, and you could just see like the foot tweak, and it turns out that's probably because the Achilles kind of let go, and that's why the foot like looked like it. And then I found myself hoping like, oh, I hope it's a broken foot, But I thought his reaction was because that's part of the reason I didn't think Achilles right away, because his reaction was more pronounced than usually. Because usually the reaction involves like confusion, because you always hear guys felt like they got kicked or something and they look behind them, and it's not like you think of like Lillard or you think of Kobe or you think of all these other guys that have had the Achilles injury, and they don't react the way Tatum did, but I think it's because he knew. And I think it was more of an emotion, like it hit him pretty quickly. This is a big one. And like all the costs that we're going to talk about, I think hit him at once. And it's really hard to we're not far enough away from it, but my feeling right now is his reaction was endearing in a way, because it's like, he doesn't react that way if he doesn't care. And like, no one's ever said like, oh, Tatum doesn't care, but like quite the opposite. But it does drive home the point, like how important all this, like this is like playing professional basketball and winning a championship and trying to hold this team together. And like, that's everything. And you saw that all come out. And so it was a very human moment. Having said that, the like camera in the tunnel on him in the wheelchair, I could have done without, because that crossed over from it's endearing and you're like with him to this feels like an intrusion, and this feels like a moment we shouldn't be seeing. Like we get it. Like he's devastated. I didn't need to see the like, let's follow him further down this like grieving process, I guess is what he's in, So that was tough. But so that stuff aside, like I think unless you have more on just the sort of in the moment stuff.
Yeah, like, just in the moment, it's these injuries are never good, but this is someone who was in the middle of like one of his best playoff games ever. Like was really like the shots that he was taking, and the stakes are just so high. But also just seeing the reaction from the Knicks themselves, where it's, if you go back and watch and you just see Karl Anthony Towns' face, even Jalen Brunson afterwards was saying that there was nothing to celebrate, and a lot of people were just kind of interpreting that as job's not done, which to some extent I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
But it was also just kind of like, you go back to his post-game comments and just feeling kind of muted. It just felt like it sucked the air out of all that, because they understand what it is. And look, in Tatum's case, he has a shit ton of money. It's good for him that he signed his contract when he did, and that's going to be guaranteed.
And he got a title too, by the way.
And he got a title as he didn't win Finals MVP, but no one's ever questioned whether some people have, but no one who's looking to have a real conversation has ever questioned that he's the best player. And
Right.
look, he's young enough to where you hope that he can come back in a similar vein to, Kevin Durant was older, and like Kevin Durant
Mhm.
came back and was still very close to
Yep.
Kevin Durant. And it's not like, for all that Jayson Tatum does, he's not overly reliant on explosive movements, but you do sort of wonder when you get into the, like, his on ball, like, shimmies and directionality and like getting to that sidestep 3-pointer, and then just also probably just one of the more, I don't even want to say underrated, but understated defenders in the league because of all the things that he could do. No, you don't necessarily want him checking the primary guy on the other team.
Yeah.
Does that get impacted at all? You hope we're reaching the point in modern medicine where, okay, the recovery time is the recovery time. Next year's probably gone.
Yeah.
But when you come back, like, is this more of an, like ACLs were at one point considering like career ending, if not
Mhm.
altering, and maybe we get to a point where Achilles aren't. You hope that you could see this, or at least hope that he comes back still a star and doesn't have to deal with re-aggravation. It just, and the other thing I'm struggling with, just to like the reaction of it all, is you have to think about like the long-term implications of this, which feels so inhumane
Yeah.
in a way, because it's
Yeah.
just like, but there's a series to play, and this was already just a team that ownership is changing. They're so expensive, and you and I have talked a lot about probably all the, like, the real changes won't come until 2026. And now you're sort of
Well,
wondering, like, well, does this accelerate that process?
yeah, it does. I agree. There's not a good transition into this stuff, but like among the ripple effects you have to think about, and like that's the other thing is like for all the reasons we've said, and some we'll get into, this felt like a the significance of this injury. I struggle to think of one that felt as big of a deal because of all the fallout that there will be, like for Tatum personally, what this means for the rest of his career, what this means for Boston, what this means for the rest of the league. Because like this takes a team that, now granted, I think the Knicks were going to win that game anyway, and I think the Knicks were going to win the series anyway. Uh, but this kneecaps a first tier contender,
Yep.
certainly for next year. And to what you're getting at, like this Celtics roster was getting so expensive that we were going to put it off for another year. But I do think there would have been conversations had sort of with a little more urgency anyway if Tatum had stayed healthy and the Celtics had lost this game and then go on to lose the series. And those conversations would have been about, do we trade Drew Holiday? Can we move Jaylen Brown? What about Porzingis? There's all these, financial considerations to make for a team that just got too expensive. And if it's not winning titles, then you can't justify that expense under the current collective bargaining agreement. So, I mean, don't you think that this summer now there will, like, someone from the Celtics top 6 guys or 7 or however deep you want to go will change teams this
Yeah.
summer? Isn't that so much more likely now? Because next year is a lost year as far as Boston being a top flight title contender. You just can't view them that way.
No, you can't. And I think you could have even said that one of them, just because Al Horford, by virtue of being a free agent. So now you get into
Uh-huh.
the concept of, is it going to be two? Is it, because
Yeah.
how do you even, it'd be interesting to look at it. If you don't do anything, if you run it back, you're going to be good enough to maybe even be a top 4 seed in the
Yeah,
East. Just
50 games is totally doable for a Tatumless Celtics team next year.
But do you, like, it's tough to approach it in any way, because what does Tatum look like when he comes back? Because couldn't there be a temptation to sort of say, can you move basically everyone of the core except maybe Jaylen Brown and Derek White, and then you hope that your draft pick
Mm-hmm.
next year is hot? Because like that's at least something that the Celtics are. They have most of their own draft picks moving forward. I think it's the only swap that they owe to San Antonio down the line from that Derek White trade. So it's just like, do you look at it through that lens, or is it like that's a weird way to do it when you don't know what Tatum's going to look like upon back? And do you sort of like the Jaylen Brown of it all, I guess, because that's the player everyone's identified just because he's so expensive and he'd be
Mm-hmm.
so desirable on the trade market that, okay, no, you're not going to trade him off rip or just for anything. But is it, now do you need him more, like, moving
Yeah.
forward because of this Tatum injury? Or is it, do you view it as like, we really just need to materially change the makeup of our team and somehow view it as need him less? I think I tilt towards the former. You certainly need him more next year, but moving forward, I'm kind of like, I think you need, like, this needs to be the guy, but this might need to be more of like a totally equitable partnership insofar as it wasn't
Yeah.
already. But it does make it difficult to time, like, because the idea of a gap year, it actually might be somewhat intriguing, But how do you even do that if you
Yeah.
have Jaylen Brown and Derek White on your team? How can you be sure that you're going to be bad enough to capitalize on a gap year?
Right. My gut says that the Celtics will peel off a piece or two from that group we're talking about, still be very good next year, make the playoffs, maybe win a round, something like that. And then maybe it changes again over the following offseason. Like
Yeah.
I think the thing I feel pretty confident about is that when Tatum is back and close to full powers, whatever that looks like, the Boston team around him, I think, is going to be pretty different. Like Holiday probably won't be there. Horford may have retired, but by then, because we're talking about what 26, 27 is the season that he'll be, because we assume he misses all of next year.
Yeah.
And even then, like the KD rehab was 18 months. Part of that was because there was the bubble stuff like that overlapped into the COVID year. But KD took a long time to get back. Now Tatum's a couple years younger than Durant was at the time. But even when Durant was back, he had health issues. Like Durant wasn't really himself until like 2 full years. I don't feel like after. So it just, the Celtics as we know them, like this group is not going to be on a big stage again, because there will be one, I don't think they reach a big stage next year, and two, a piece or two will be gone, and then the following year, who knows? Like that's part of the reason it felt like such a significant injury. Is it like, oh, this alters like 2 full years of a contender, and maybe is the end of this version of the team, and then you can even expand out from there. It's like, well, what's this do to the East hierarchy? Because Cleveland doesn't look super powerful. Is like, are the Pacers going to be the best team in the East for a couple of years now? Like, there's just all these variables. And then that's to say nothing of like, well, if the Celtics do trade Jaylen Brown or whatever, or Holiday or like, where do those guys go? And what does that do to the hierarchy in the conference? Like, or do they leave the conference entirely and the East gets even weaker? I don't know. It just, it's a huge deal for like every possible reason. You know what I mean? Like personally, team wide, league wide, like it's all factoring in.
And the final thing for me, because like we can talk about what the Celtics might do over the offseason once it actually is their offseason. Like they're still in a playoff series and they're still a good team. And like the Knicks they feel like the team of destiny right now, but like we've seen enough of New York across the entire year. Like we had those concerns still exist. It wouldn't shock me if there's a game 7 in this series. I don't know how I'm going to predict it, but I don't want to get too much in their offseason, but I do feel like, and you kind of alluded to this, the thing that I keep coming back to is this reinforces what I think both you and I have been preaching for years at this point. Windows in the NBA are just so fleeting. And that's why it's paramount to operate with sensible urgency. Mm-hmm. It's not, what the Pelicans did around those Anthony Davis days and even some of the Zion Williamson stuff. No, you don't want to replicate that. You don't want to go all in too fast. But I think looking at a team like the Spurs, or let's even more so say the Rockets, who haven't kind of made that big trade yet, this is why, some of it's the easy thing to talk about, but it's also everyone who has followed this league, who has covered this league, understands that even when you think something is built to last, it's not. It's a free agency decision, a trade demand, an injury, a luxury tax bill away from just going up in flames. And I don't think this is going to be the last we hear of the Tatum headline Celtics.
No.
But the Celtics, as we know them, like you said, like this run is just like this team is going to look materially different by the time that Tatum plays again.
Yeah, it's a dividing line, I think, in this era of Celtics basketball. Like it, and really like the before period on the one side of that line was like pretty long, because this goes back. I include like the Kyrie era Celtics and the first go around Horford and like the Jaylen Brown as a rookie in the playoffs, like that kind of, we go back up. That's a long time ago, really, in like NBA terms. And then you get the title last year, and this happens. Well, I mean, look, they made the finals in 22 also. Like this has been a long run by NBA standards of like major success.
They're like
consistent success too, like built mostly from within. If you just think of the Brown and Tatum duo, right? Like
courtesy of Brooklyn a little bit.
Courtesy of Brooklyn. But and
Philly,
now it's after.
Too.
We're starting the after phase. So it's like, what is that? How many holdovers will there be? Like, will they ever approach the level of success they have? Probably not. I don't think Tatum wins another title in Boston. And if he does, it will mean that they got somebody as good as him or better, right? Like we're
Well,
in that phase of it probably.
the thing I had thought this would be the cold, callous way of looking at it, and I just don't want to get to, but like, would you trade this offseason Jaylen Brown for Cooper Flag?
Oh,
Like, if
wow.
Dallas says calls and says we want, I think everyone expects that Dallas to make that pick, but like, is
I
that
would.
something?
I
Oh, go
would.
ahead.
I would. Wouldn't
You
you?
would.
Yeah, I think I
I
would.
think I probably would too. And what people forget is the idea of giving up a number one pick for Jaylen Brown seems like a lot, I
Mhm.
think. But like Cooper Flag is very much a theory by NBA
Right.
standards right now.
Right.
I will say, I had someone, this is not like, I don't want to be like super source here. Someone I very much trust said that Cooper Flag is the best NBA prospect they've seen since LeBron James. And I followed up and they said, I am aware that Luka Doncic and Victor Wembanyama exist. And
Uh-huh.
but it's still very much a theory because like Zion Williamson was the best prospect since LeBron, and he's kind of lived up to the hype, but the durability isn't there.
Right.
That would be interesting from Boston's perspective because you are punting on certainty, but you're adding a level of cost control to your future as well as someone who theoretically
Yeah.
could be as good, if not better, than a Jason. I don't get too, but I'm just like, is
Yeah.
that the lens that this team all of a sudden has to evaluate itself against? Of we might need to endure not just near term pain, but like longer term growing pains to set ourselves up for a version of the Boston Celtics that can contend maybe with Jayson Tatum, but where Jayson Tatum is not your best player.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's a hard, because like I think one of the, I don't know if it's a knock, but like Tatum has never seriously contended for an MVP, right? So he was always, he's
He's got like
been first,
he'll have 3 top 5 finishes now, right? Though, or it'll be
right?
just
But
two.
never,
One.
but he was
Yeah.
never like, I think, who actually should win it is Tatum. That was never the argument. And now it's like, well, what level can we expect him to get to? And the answer is probably like maybe all NBA, but like further down, like I would be shocked if he didn't make a bunch more all-star games once he's
Yeah.
back, just because the floor is, he's great.
He's so plug and play for a star.
Right. Yeah. And then maybe there's a version of him, like the post recovery version of him is like, no, he really just he's more of a 4 now, and he just beats up, other wings, and like his game changes a little bit. Or like I think everybody would be fine and see value in him, maybe not at like a max salary, as like just a deadly 6'10" spot up shooter that like, he's going to have a ton of value. But I think what we're both kind of circling around is like he's not going to be the best player on a championship winning team again. I don't think that's a realistic expectation.
No, I think, and that's the best way to frame it, is I will root for it because that'd be really cool to see.
Of course.
But like history just tells us that's not going to be the case. And the one thing that maybe he has going for him, and this would normally be where I'd insert a 19-year-old joke, but this isn't really like a laughing matter, is just he is super young. And so maybe that benefits him in his recovery and whatever comes next. So
yeah,
nothing but the best to him. But this is just, you said it in our Discord. Go join our Discord. This is league-altering injury type stuff, and it sucks.
a big one.
There is still basketball to talk about though between the Celtics and the Knicks, which you did mention it. I think what makes Game 4 special is that the Knicks were going to win that before the Jayson Tatum injury. You could just sense it when they were like, and this was the game. They did fall behind by they have to fall behind by double digits because that's what they do. I don't.
It's like the
it.
same script every time. It feels like.
But this game was special because like the Celtics were hitting their threes by and large, and then the Knicks offense, which has been a sore spot for the entire playoffs, takes off in the second half. Mikal Bridges is apparently all of a sudden like the best closer alive. I think there's a lot of different things to talk about. My biggest takeaway from that game, from the Knicks' perspective, is though, has it? Maybe this should mean more to me specifically, but has it ever resonated with you that Jalen Brunson has, probably for the first time since Patrick Ewing, which is a long time ago, folks, given the Knicks a best player who can actually be the best player on a title contender? Like, that was just sort of Boston's defense is good. They were super aggressive with him. He's still getting, like, you look at the shots he was hitting, like, through the first 3 quarters of that game. Like, just his ability as a small, like, guard, too. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I remember talking about this last postseason, or a version of it, where it struck me how awesome it was that the Knicks were relevant and that the Garden crowd was like losing its mind, because it could feel collectively like, oh, and it was different because last year's team was more, I don't know, Brunson was basically as good last year too, but it was more like, isn't this team like scrapping hard, and isn't it fun to watch the offensive rebounding and to see guys, Josh Hart playing 40 whatever minutes and all that. There was all that stuff there. This year, though, to your point, it's just like, so just to use game 4 as the example, and I mentioned the script thing, I had the thought like early third quarter of like, it's happening again.
Right.
Just this, I feel it like that's the best. I think like I didn't audibly say that, but that was verbatim the thought in my head as the Celtics continue to like just kind of look for one kind of shot for the most part. Tatum did go bang around inside a little bit more, but like, and Brunson just is finding ways to score from everywhere. And I had the thought of like, I think that might be Brunson's like real, like, defining skill is there's not really a spot on the floor that you can direct him to where he's not dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's not really a particular shot that he's hunting. Like he'll take the step back 3 and just somehow the one he hit one over, I think he hit one over Tatum from the right wing. It might have even been Porzingis. I think it was Tatum, and it's just like that's a 6'10" guy closing out on what's Brunson realistically 6'1", 6'2", like. It just that he can hit that and that he can get into the mid-range and just pivot and figure it out, go over either shoulder, that he can somehow finish inside despite like not any kind of real size or length. Like, I think that's what makes him special is like, he's going to try to score and you don't know where it's coming from. And he doesn't care where it comes from. Like he's that well-rounded as an offensive player and in a playoff series where like everything is about, let's take away the thing the guy wants to do most. He's like Brunson's options B, C, D, and E are just like they're indistinguishable from option A for him. And I think that as we see more and more of him just continue to do this in playoff series, I'm kind of landing on like that's a lot of what it is. It's just like there's nowhere you can send him that he's uncomfortable. I don't know. It's amazing. This is what he's just he's the best player in the series, and the series until the end of game 4 involved Jayson Tatum. Like that's a big thing to say.
And just to appreciate, I won't do like the super cherry pick stuff with the stat thing. So he finished with 39 points, 12 assists, and 1 turnover, which is that a typo territory,
right?
Especially against Boston.
He has the ball so much too. Like, how is that possible?
Here's every player, Grant, who has games of it like more than 35 points and 10 assists. So I feel like those are fair benchmarks with no more than a single turnover in a playoff game. LeBron's done it twice. Michael Jordan did it in 92. Clyde Drexler, who just always shows up in these things. Clyde Drexler is so underrated. Also did it in 92. Nikola Jokic did it last year because, of course, and now there's Jalen Brunson, and that's just it. And it's just, it was a special performance, but I think what's also been special from the Knicks' perspective, Tom Thibodeau has outcoached Joe Mazzulla in this series. When you look at, I think that you can still be frustrated with the Knicks' offensive process, and I felt different than you because there was the play. I think was that the third quarter or was it the fourth quarter? Everything's blurring together after that night where Josh Hart forces a turnover. Then Karl-Anthony Towns immediately turns it back over. And then like it winds up in a Derek White wide open 3. And I felt like it sucked the air out of the Knicks' momentum. And I was just like, all right, like it's going to be 2-2. This is how it's going to go.
Okay.
Credit to the Knicks, though. I think you can fault Tom Thibodeau for them not finding sort of their scrappiness earlier. But they have found it at all. And it's been a lot of the buttons that he's been pushing. Their defense has been different. They've switched way more this series than at any point under the Tom Thibodeau era. You have to like Karl-Anthony Towns has had some really good moments, like when he's caught on an island with guys. Still just not. I just don't trust that dude. It was the same story in Minnesota. It was I don't trust Karl-Anthony Towns. He's been great at points, and when he's an aggressive scorer, the Knicks are better. But there's too much up and down. The thing that I thought was bold, and if you would have asked me this, I would have told you there's no way in hell it's going to work. You're putting Mikal Bridges in the fourth quarter, basically by himself, as no Towns, no Brunson as the primary scorer, so that you can try and capitalize off of like the Cornette or Porzingis minutes.
Yeah.
And Mikal Bridges just is not missing from mid range. It still makes me uneasy because I feel like he's perpetually going away from the basket, like all of his shots, even his set shots. It feels like there's a lean, but he's getting it done in the fourth quarter. And if you include overtime, OG Anunoby is just to me very clearly. I don't know if you feel the same way. I don't even find it a debate anymore. Is the second most important player on this team because of what he does defensively and just like he has leveled up his offense where the escape dribble threes can do a little bit more things on drives. Not a playmaker, but Karl-Anthony Towns isn't a live dribble playmaker either. Neither is Mikal Bridges. But like Tibbs kind of empowering him, and they shifted a lot of the excuse me, and this is a Tibbs thing too. When Jalen Brunson was out with that sprained ankle, that's when OG Anunoby kind of really popped.
Yeah.
Tibbs kind of shifted more of Mikal Bridges' usage on offense to OG Anunoby after Brunson came back. I think that was really smart. And now he's also kind of figuring out how to balance it all with that like Mikal Bridges fourth quarter stuff. Josh Hart is just he should be a liability, but it's like
Right?
that dude is such a bellwether.
Yeah.
I love watching Josh Hart play, even when like the 3-point stuff is going to be frustrating. Going to Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns together more, or even Mitchell Robinson more in general, he logged 25 plus minutes in Game 4, his second most minutes of the season. And I know he hasn't played a ton this season, but like this is someone who's not known as a high minutes guy, especially now that you have Towns and with the injury stuff. There's just been a lot of things that Tibbs has done that I like, and all the same concerns remain. And if you're
Mhm.
worried about title windows expiring, the fact that he leans on his top guy so much, I do find myself thinking now, when you look at the state of the Celtics of the East, like this just might be the Knicks' best and only chance to win a title with this group. And I think you can sit here and say, if you believe that a more inventive approach, especially on offense, is the difference between this team being what it is now and an even more championship heavy favorite, the outcome of this series is almost bad news for you because Tom Thibodeau isn't going anywhere. Maybe if
No.
they blow a 3-1 lead,
I-
but I've just found it fascinating where Tibbs, I've always been up and down on Tibbs. I would never call myself a Tibbs defender,
Mhm.
but like he's coached, at least relative to Joe Mazzulla, I think he's done a really good job in this
Yeah.
series.
You've acknowledged, in fairness to you, you've acknowledged when Thibodeau does stuff that like makes sense, and you've acknowledged like I think we both pointed to he has a lot of strengths as a head coach, and like now I think you're right. Like it doesn't matter what happens from now unless they blow this lead, which I just don't think is going to happen. Like he's going to be back next year. I wanted to ask because I had the thought, I forget which one it was, but it was one of those Bridges like, oh my God, they need this. 12-footer in the middle of the lane fading back, and he hits it towards the end of the shot clock, I think. And I was already like, I know what I'm going to ask Dan. So like, are all those picks being traded for Bridges okay now? Like what needs to happen for that? Well, like here's the thing, because we talk about windows. I think you're probably right, but it's just like it made me reconsider like that in conjunction with the Tatum injury, this idea that like, yeah, you'd love to have all those picks. And I think probably you still would, but like, isn't the whole point of this to just fucking go for it when you're pretty close? And like the Knicks definitely they really went for it with the Cat trade and with the Bridges trade and the OG trade and the bringing him back for the money they pay. Like trading DiVincenzo as part of that deal was like, oh man, that was like kind of cold, but like they felt like they were close and they felt like a couple moves would get them closer. And so far, like that's right. Like they were gonna beat Boston. They were going up 3-1, whether Tatum got hurt or not. And I think you have to at least think about or consider the fact that like, yeah, the process of paying all those picks for a player of Bridges caliber is probably not the one you want to embrace most of the time, but the results are going to be what they are. And if they make a conference finals and they give probably Indiana a run, like, I don't know. That's kind of the point. The point is to get as close as you can when you got a shot, and they've gone that route. I don't know. Go ahead. Your thoughts.
If you make it, what's the saying? If you win it, you never have to apologize if you win a title. I think in this case, they haven't made the conference finals since 2000. They haven't made the NBA finals since 99, which is just, when you say 99, that was like over a quarter century ago. And it doesn't, I don't realize that until I say it. Like I was a young buck back then. Like I remember watching that finals as a kid, just being very emotional, expecting them to win against the Spurs because I had no idea what I was rooting for. Yeah. But so I think it's defensible, but like there are two things. Like if Mikal Bridges signs the extension this summer, which I think is like 4 years and 156, he could probably get more if he went on the open market. That lends itself, okay, that's part of why you overpay. Got Jalen Brunson to sign his extension. Mikal Bridges to sign a below market extension. And also, I will go back to that. They sent out no real players in that deal. And so like you had to compensate the Nets somehow. But on the flip side is like, I know they had waited long enough and Jalen Brunson kind of put them in a position where they couldn't wait much longer because he was just so good. Mm-hmm. The whole Giannis stuff, that's why you wait, because that's the star that you expend that much picks on. Now, maybe it doesn't matter because the Bucks don't have their own picks and the Knicks don't have all these youngsters to throw into those trades. But like that's why you wait. So as of now, though, like in this moment, I've seen people say, "Oh, the Mikal Bridges trade was a steal." It was absolutely not a steal. They
Mhm.
overpaid to get him, but if it results in a conference finals like title, getting to the NBA finals, I don't think you need to apologize. And like you kind of understand the vision, but uh, it has kneecapped you moving forward.
Yeah,
Like you've
yeah, yeah.
expended all your best. If you're looking to improve this team, which the Knicks are still flawed. Like this is a great moment. I'm excited for Knicks fans. I'm excited for myself, but like we can't lose sight of. I don't. Do you think they'll go into? I shouldn't say will they go into it favored because I feel like the Big Apple juice will make them the betting favorite
Right.
regardless of whether it's Cleveland or Indy. But are you picking them to beat either one of those teams if the series started today?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so if you're like the Cavs magically all get healthy and they somehow win that series, then I might pick Cleveland, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I would probably go. I would probably pick the Knicks. I think I would over the Pacers, and I've just been kind of too low on the Pacers for the entire season, and so that's kind of staying on brand for me, which is weird because I love Halliburton so much. But I think, yeah, I think I would pick the Knicks, and even if like I guess I would just say I think you're right that like go committing what they did to build this team, which like on paper just shouldn't be and is not like a top 4 team. They're going to be one of the last 4 teams standing. And so
Yeah.
like, you know, like in a normal year or whatever, like whatever that even means in the NBA, like a normal year where the 4 best teams during the regular season actually make the conference finals, like that doesn't seem to happen. But like I don't know. I keep coming back to like, yeah, I think if you're close and you can make like a reckless, seemingly reckless move to get a little closer, I think my takeaway is like you just do it. And I was wrong about like the Warriors, for example, trying to pull off a big trade during the year because I was like, oh, they're not close. There's no one who gets them to that level, and who knows where they'd be if they were healthy. Yeah, like there would be kind of a similar thing of like, yeah, you just do it. It may not seem perfect, but if you're close and get a little closer, it's worth it to take a shot at it.
I think that's why it's important to also appreciate the moment because I can get when you cover the entire league like we do, you do get caught up in the macro of it all, and so it's if you don't think the Knicks are going to win a title, like you're just not like the Thunder and the Nuggets exist as well, so
Right.
you're just
Yeah.
not going to predict them to win the championship.
Hmm.
And if you believe it, more power to you. I'll be rooting for it. Spoiler alert.
Hmm.
But like you don't want to get too caught up in well, like they're still flawed, and if they got to the finals and got trucked in 5 games, there's going to be you'll have to have the where do you go from here element. But as
Right.
of right now, it's this team is flawed, and yet they're good enough to get. And look, this will be rewritten at some point as like, well, if the Celtics had Jayson Tatum, and yeah, maybe they would still be in the 3-1 series hole if
Hmm.
Jayson Tatum was healthy. So I what are you expect the rest of this series? What are you kind of looking for? There's obviously like the Knicks have. We've probably seen like the full breadth of what the Knicks have to offer. Is it well? Can Mikal Bridges maybe get going a little bit earlier
Yeah.
if you want to get into that? But for the Celtics, it's I'm just very curious to see what their offense is going to look like. And I think the easy thing is, do you kind of need to spam? Like, can you get? I know he's dealing with the anemia or like the illness or whatever it is, but can you get even more minutes out of Porzingis? And is this just spamming like go find like Towns and Brunson, and like you need to spam like Porzingis picking pops at this point.
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, the demo or the sort of the game plan doesn't change a ton offensively. It's just like now it does not involve Jason Tatum for Boston. So I mean, I thought they were hunting the Brunson Towns, options a little more with a little more commitment as this like certainly in game 4. And I think that not doing that, I don't know. I get it. You want to just run your stuff that's won you 60 whatever games, and like deviating in a series maybe feels like you're overthinking it. But like I don't know. I think that has been the move and should be the move going forward. Is just pick on Brunson and Towns. Maybe you get Towns in foul trouble. That means you have to play Mitchell Robinson, which means he gets fouled off the floor, and then Precious Achua is involved, and like that. That's a way forward for Boston. I mean, they're gonna need way more from Brown. They're gonna need way. Holiday has not looked good. Like Derek White's going to have to up the volume and make every quarter look like the first quarter of game 4 when he just couldn't miss. But like, I do think Boston is good enough to win another game.
Oh yeah,
Like stranger things have happened, but to win 3 straight, even with 2 of them being at home, that's a pretty tall order, to say nothing of just like the deflating effect of the Tatum injury. Just like you could forgive the Celtics for kind of letting go of the rope a little bit just because they know like even if we win this, he's not coming back. Professional athletes are mentally tougher than I am, but like that would affect me if I knew our best guy was just it was done. That has to play a role, I think.
I'm also wondering too, like the big thing is Drew Holiday. You mentioned him. He's like given the Knicks somewhere to stash Jalen Brunson, which is something they were always going to do. The
Yeah.
Celtics are averaging as a team under a point possession when Jalen Brunson like registers as a defender on Drew Holiday. Can the Celtics like? It's probably going to take like more actions during their offensive stuff than they want, but like, can they get him Brunson off of that matchup to now? Okay, we have two players who are maybe going to be more active, and that's going to make tougher for Brunson to defend. And I don't know that
Yeah.
the Celtics have figured out a way to get Brunson off of or like capitalize on that nearly enough. And that either comes
Yeah.
down to, well, can Drew Holiday hit the play better button, the play more aggressive button, however you want to frame it, or do you need to just go through more layers to like poke and prod and put Brunson in more uncomfortable situations?
Or is it just like we got to play Pritchard more because he's just a tougher cover that's going to shoot it more readily and just move more and faster and overtax. Not maybe you put Brunson someplace else if you're the Knicks and Pritchard is the cover, but like, yeah, the Boston, and I'm honestly like not having Sam Hauser matters. Like just not having another guy to just make shots when that's been an issue in most of the games in this series is a factor. Yeah, again, I think Boston could definitely win Game 5. Like that's totally on the table. They'll just have to. I guess what I would say is like if Boston wins Game 5, it'll probably have more to do with the Knicks not just continuing to play this well than it will with like, oh, Boston's figured something out,
Right. Let's move on to the next series, which, Golden State Warriors in a 3-1 hole against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Where do you want to start here, Grant? I'll let you grab the talking stick and
I don't know. Like, well, rhetorically, like with Steph going down in Game 1, what else should the expectation have been? Like I think with a healthy Steph, I don't know I can't remember what the odds were, but just I don't know how much there is to really say when the team that can least afford to lose its best player loses its best player, and the way the series has played out, everything from like the scoring struggles to just the role guys looking worse for the most part, except Jonathan Kuminga, which maybe we should talk about. That's like all very
the agenda
predictable.
is back.
Oh boy. Yeah, you should see some text threads. There have been some things said about Kuminga in this series.
So I want to focus on the Steph element really quickly before we kind of dive into like maybe what we've seen or what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's frustrating for me from watching because like we've seen them hold leads without Steph now. Like they went into halftime of Game 4 and had the lead, and then just you kind of let your foot off the gas. And I think Draymond, was it Draymond or was it Jimmy Butler afterwards said, if we don't have Steph Curry, we can't give up 100, 17 points or whatever.
Yeah, it was
Draymond. We're not
Draymond.
going to win that game.
Yeah.
Which is just spot on. And so, like, when you see, like, kind of a failure of their defense, and then I know, what was it, Jimmy Butler was sick in addition to dealing with the glute stuff, it just sucks because, like, I thought this was going to be a really fun and confusing series, and without Steph, it sort of boiled it down to, like, this is what's supposed to happen. And I really hope, and it feels counterintuitive to say, like, they need to prioritize the future when they're as old as they are. I don't want to see Steph Curry play Game 5. If they win Game 5 and force a game, like, I just don't want to see him risk. But maybe this is, I'm like traumatized from the Jayson Tatum injury now to survive. Just like, let's not risk it. Like, if they lose, let them have the offseason and come back. But like, isn't kind of already pushing it to come back from that grade 1 strain in Game 5? And you're down 3-1. Like, let's start displaying urgency with Steph's timeline when the Warriors proved that they could win a game, and then it's, coming back from 3-1, you still wouldn't predict it, but like you can get 2 consecutive wins with Steph against this Timberwolves team.
Yeah, you can. I was thinking this morning about like I kind of think he's gonna. I bet I haven't read anything today, but I bet he's gonna try to play Game 5, and I would also
knowing him,
I would also bet that like. Well, I don't know what I would bet because you don't want to put anything past him, but like a re-injury really feels likely or like feels like frighteningly probable, given how quickly this would be for a turnaround for a hamstring. I guess for me, I lean more towards like, I think you just do it because you're not promised that next year is going to give you any better shot than this year, as long as the odds are now down 3-1. Like can you really expect this core to get through another full season without some injury too? Like, I think look, the evidence of how good the team is with Jimmy Butler post trade deadline is pretty persuasive. Like, okay, well, they're a top 4 team probably in the West if they could hold up that way. But everybody's a year older. You may or may not have, as good of a supporting cast considering some of the free agents like Peyton, Looney, the guys that actually play. Who knows where Kuminga is going to be or what his role would be if he's back. Like, I think you play him I think he decides to play. I think they probably let him. And it's a complicated decision, but I feel like I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't view it as like malpractice or anything if they let him go, if they let him try. But I don't know I don't have high expectations. I would say that.
So you want to talk about the Kuminga stuff, which I think actually bleeds into part of the issues with this team when you're trying to scale the Warriors team scaling ahead moving forward. I want to talk about what the Wolves are doing, particularly Julius Randle, who's just
who's
a playoff killer now, apparently.
Yeah. Who knew? Boy, was I mea culpa. I've several times this season have just said, like, I don't think he's someone you win with, and he's a big reason they are winning. So
I have a mea culpa there too, because what is time? I don't even remember what our initial reactions to the Karl-Anthony Towns trade were, but like we pretty much were not aboard it with the Timberwolves, and so might work out for them. Maybe it doesn't, but I will say what's really fun about Julius Randle doing this, and what did he have, that groin injury? Ever since he's come back, like it feels like he's playing within the confines the Wolves need him to be, which is physical, but also being more of a setup guy.
Yep.
And that's just worked for their offense, especially in what feels like this series where it's like Ant is only going to get it going for like the final third of a game or something, apparently. Yeah. So I'm happy Julius Randle's doing this because now he makes it so difficult for the team to cheap out. Because now if it's, are you going to let Naz Reid walk because you want to keep Julius Randle? It's like, or are you going to just let Julius Randle walk for nothing because you want, if they do that, there'll be a mutiny in Minnesota, as there should be. But with the Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga's play has been fascinating. So my question here is twofold. Would you agree, and I'm going to ask both at once, would you agree that this Warriors team, even just when they're hitting their threes, there's just not enough spacing? And they really need to open up the floor so that they can capitalize on, make life easier on Steph when he's healthy. But like the crux of Jimmy Butler's game requires, I would say, positive spacing, which the Warriors, certainly without Steph, do not have. Yeah. But then two, how does that impact how you view what Jonathan Kuminga is doing right now? Because even the best version of Kuminga is not going to be considered a floor spacer because by definition, it needs to be someone that defenses want to guard from beyond the arc. And Jonathan Kuminga just still isn't quite that. And so it was easier for me to sit here before Jonathan Kuminga returned to the rotation and was like, the Warriors just need to figure out like how to get more shooting around this core. But now Jonathan Kuminga is popping, and it makes it hard. How do we, and I guess the one, if we were to tie both questions together, is how do the Warriors make this work moving forward when you're weighing what they still clearly need versus, oh, have they failed Jonathan Kuminga at any point? Or is there more to plumb there with Jonathan Kuminga? It's so awkward.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, that was Steve Kerr's justification for the most recent benching stint of Kuminga is like with Butler, it just doesn't work. We don't have the spacing. And like, that's just objectively true. Like you just don't. If it's Butler and Draymond, like, and Steph, the other two guys in that 5-man unit, just like they got to be able to shoot. That's why Buddy Hield, like, holy shit, Buddy Hield matters. Like, I just don't know where this like competent defense has come from, but like Buddy Hield is kind of indispensable. Quentin Post got played off the floor in this series. Like he's the other piece where if you have a shooting 5, maybe that gives you some options, but he's just not a good enough all-around player yet to be in a second round playoff series just because he can shoot. The other stuff matters too much. So how do you make it work? I don't know. I think they've struggled with that all season. It would probably be a slightly easier solve if Podziemski and Moody could both make a shot, and neither of them can right now, because then you can mix and match and like, maybe, Draymond's off the floor, so you've got Butler and 3 or 4 shooters, or you Butler's off the floor, you have Steph and Draymond and 2 or 3 shooters. Like, there's ways to, maybe that's another reason that the rotation has been so deep all season, and they played like 13 guys in the first quarter, and they're just kind of searching for guys that can give them the things they need. The Kuminga thing, like I will concede that more so in game 3 when he had like 30 or whatever it was, like, and definitely for parts of game 4, like if you watch what he did and you say oh my God, they have just buried this guy. Look what he's doing. Like Steve Kerr is lost his mind. How do you not play him? Look at the boost he's giving him. If that's the extent of your reaction, what I will say to you is you did not watch enough of this season, because those are the highs and you are ignoring the lows where Kuminga will play. And you saw some dumb mistakes too, even last night. Like the guy can't navigate a screen. I don't know how it's possible he's that bad at it. I think the Wolves learned pretty quickly that if you involve Kuminga in an action that involves A, a screen, B, trailing someone off the ball, or C, 1 to 2 passes that he has to like judge where to go, like you've broken him and he's not going to make a good play. So like even with it, so I would just say like all the lows don't get erased from his like effort perspective, from his attention to detail, from all this other stuff, because he showed you the highs. And this is the whole Kuminga experience. We're just watching we're watching a little microcosm of it, because he will show you this stuff and it makes you forget everything else. And like at the same time, the Warriors go into his restricted free agency this summer. It's like, I'm no closer to knowing
Right.
what that guy's market value is, whether it makes sense to keep him at all. Like it's been one long saga of just like ebbs and flows of the long-term outlook for this guy. And I think the way he's played the last game and a half just makes it that much more complicated. And to say nothing of what your question was, is like, how do you integrate him into a core of Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond if he's not going to, because he's not a guy that is best utilized at all as like, oh, well, okay, maybe he becomes a 38% 3-point shooter. Like, you want him just standing on the perimeter? Is that what you want Jonathan Kuminga to, like, it's, even if he becomes a good 3-point shooter, I don't know if that makes it all that much easier to integrate him.
No, it almost feels like if you were going to integrate him, it would have to be just off the bench as kind of the sixth man microwave scorer, which is just, we don't see that role from someone his size, really, right?
Right. Or Butler or Draymond is gone. Like then okay. But then how good is the team in that hypothetical?
Maybe Kevin Durant's on here instead of Jimmy Butler. I do. It probably does help his market value, which in theory would make it easier for the Warriors to find a sign and trade partner that maybe is sending them someone or stuff back that they can use to go check other boxes. But
yeah,
they're going to be in the dilemma of, you want to preserve the asset of the player, but as you mentioned with the ebbs and flows, there is a chance that whatever you sign him for this offseason, you can't guarantee that doesn't end up being a bad deal.
Right.
And that's just the trouble that they're facing. Is there anything else, just sort of like, what are you looking for in game, aside from is Steph going to play, but like game 5 for this team specifically, what do we need to be like looking towards?
Well, I think if you want to keep it really brass tacks, like Butler just has to look like he did in game 3 as opposed to game 4. From an aggressive, like I think one of his best qualities is he really doesn't force a lot of shots. Like he will be patient to a fault. And part of that is because like athletically, he just doesn't beat guys like he used to. And he has to be a 2-foot plant guy. And foul grifts, like, is a master at it. But part of that's by necessity, because he's just not going to blow by and finish like a 1-foot layup on anybody anymore. He has to just figure out ways to get you 30 plus efficiently, and then draw enough defense to get guys good shots. And then the pods and the everybody else's of the world have to make them. It just is. It's just like game 3. It's a Jimmy game. He has to be great. And then the Warriors guys who haven't made shots have to make them. But like really none of that matters if they, like Draymond alluded to, if they don't defend. Like this has to be a game won, with one team being held under 100. I think probably it's a lot like the Rockets series in that way, where it's like, this isn't going to be a game the Warriors win because, they've got 30 from Butler and Kuminga gives you 30 more. And like, it's not going to be a 125, 118 win. That's just not in the card. So it's got to be slow. It's got to be a mess. It's got to be Butler outplaying Edwards probably, which is like a pretty, it could happen, but I don't think we need to like, try to make this more interesting than it is. If Steph doesn't play, like everything's got to break right. That's just all. That's all there is to it.
I think I agree with everything you said. And the one, like the lower hanging fruit is just like, yeah, Jimmy Butler can't take 9 shots. But the other thing is that if you tell me if Buddy Hield goes 2 of 6 from three again, like I'm just going to think that they got destroyed
He
because
needs to
that
be
is
like 7 of 12 or
right.
something like that.
And he might even need to do that if Steph is playing.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's true.
The Wolves, I kind of wanted to start here. How do the Warriors go about like they don't have anybody aside from Draymond, but like they don't have anybody that can then defend Julius Randle. Isn't that like kind of a weird? You could say the same thing about Edwards too, which is by the way that's part of the reason why the Kuminga stuff is so fascinating because the Warriors at once seem like they need more shooting and someone who can check the other team's best perimeter player because you don't necessarily want Jimmy Butler doing that these
Mm-hmm.
days. And like Kuminga checks neither of those boxes for them.
Well, the thing is, like, he was pretty effective on Edwards for stretches of game 3 and then some of game 4 even, but that's just Kuminga can really only be a highly effective defender if you're not throwing anything else at him and he's just like, I'm guarding this guy in isolation. Like, he's as athletic as anyone in the league and can sort of do that. And I think the Wolves did a better job of like punishing the Warriors for thinking they could continue to get away with him on Edwards. But yeah, you're right. There's just, I guess maybe the makeup of the team is such that, well, okay, we need to play Peyton as an on-ball defender, or we got to have Looney in there to give us a chance on the boards. And you're just like, you're just peeling away strengths in other areas when you play guys like that. Or it's like, oh, let's play Buddy and Moody and Pods to get some spacing or post, and you're sacrificing other stuff. And the Wolves are just, they've got guys that, like Randall being an example, he's defended well in the playoffs. He's playmaking really well in the play. Like, you're not taking
like
anything
to know what
away.
the Warriors are shooting at the rim against Julius Randle this series?
Oh, is it in the single digits?
It's 50%,
Okay.
which is higher than I thought it would be, to be honest with you.
But that's not good at the rim. Like that you need
That's
to,
my point, is I thought it was going to be even worse, though. But
yeah. No, I think Minnesota, like, we haven't even talked about Jaden McDaniels. Like, that guy's just going to be on winning teams forever. I think it was a thought I had last night.
Is it? It's kind of like we call like Andrew Nemhard has the playoff Jimmy Butler switch as the analog for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden McDaniels on offense just has the playoff Jimmy Butler switch. Where it's like, yeah, I'll hit threes. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it all the time in the regular season, but
and he. Like, that's the other thing is a lot of what made it so, yeah, maybe he was sick and he's got the glute injury, but like Butler isolating against Jaden McDaniels, like that's not a favorable situation for Butler at all. Like, McDaniels is brutally tough to score on, especially if you're someone that like is not blowing by anybody and you need to like score over or around length like Butler does. Like, that's just like McDaniels has been a huge, and again, don't underrate like how important he's going to be in a game 5 that Butler has to score a ton for the Warriors to have a chance. Like, McDaniels will have that assignment, and like he's just really hard to score on. And even if Butler does get a bunch, he's going to have to work for it. And I just think McDaniels has been awesome. Randall's been fantastic. The Warriors haven't picked on Mike Conley. Part of that's because Mike Conley's been like pretty good defensively. And then Edwards hasn't really for an entire game, unless my memory is really gone, just dominated. He's done it for a half, or he's done it for a quarter.
Yeah.
Like, there's still the possibility that Edwards is just like, there's blood in the water, this is over, and he gives you 40. Like, that's
doesn't he seem like maybe all stars are like this, but it feels more pronounced with him because it goes from like this valley to this peak where it's just like he needs to see like 2 quarters of basketball to understand how teams are going to defend him and then adjust his decision making from there. Yeah. It very much feels like that's what it's been in this series. But I just wanted to harp on your Jaden McDaniels point. The Warriors, when he is guarding Jimmy Butler this series, are averaging 0.65 points per possession.
That checked out.
What you're saying too about game 5, I do feel like a lot of the value with Jaden McDaniels, like throughout the season, and maybe why he's not, and we could be guilty of this too, where he didn't feel like as much of a mainstay in all defense discussions this year. I don't think he began the season as well as he normally does, but like he's the type of defender where if you have the ball, or either you won't get the ball, or once you get it, like you're trying to get rid of it.
Yep.
And so like Jimmy Butler having to be in a mindset where he's not someone who forces shots specifically, and now it feels like he's either not getting the ball, but it's more so like, oh, he's just not really taking as many shots. Jaden McDaniels is a huge part of that. And so the mindset shift that you're talking about, that's an adjustment for Jimmy. And then you have to do it knowing, oh, like, no, it's Jaden McDaniels who specializes in getting people to not have the ball or to get rid of the ball.
Yeah, and how effectively can Golden State? I guess you would use Pajemski, who maybe is getting guarded by Conley, to set screens, so you can have Butler target Conley. But like he's just going to post Conley up and back him down. That's going to give the Wolves plenty of time to load to one side or to send a second guy if you need to, because chances are the Warriors are going to have like does this just create a bunch of open Draymond threes, which the Wolves will be like, great, like you can't
Him
win this
taking when he
way.
takes 6 in Game 4, the Wolves view that as an absolute win.
Oh yeah, and like it's an absolute win for them, and it's also like yeah, he kind of needs to shoot those because they're
Yeah.
just not getting better. It's like it's a maybe that's a pretty good summation of where we are in this series. Is those Draymond shots are both kind of like the right shots, quote unquote, for the circumstances. With no Steph, like you can't be sure you're getting anything better. And they're also shots that Minnesota is like, well, that defensive possession was a huge success if we give up an open Draymond three. Like that's like is that like the definition of drawing dead if you're the Warriors, like that in that little in that particular thing we're talking about?
Yeah, it has to be, right? And do you remember, what was it? Was that the 2015, 2016 season where he shot like 37% or whatever it was from three? We're like,
Oh yeah,
Draymond might be a top 10 NBA player now because he can hit threes.
I'm sure I made that argument at some point.
Anything else on just like the Wolves front? I mean, to be here, like Dante DiVincenzo hasn't really hit a ton of shots this
Yeah,
series. I do find it funny that, like, remember, and we were probably among them, you might have even alluded to this at the top, kind of calling, like, well, Nas Reed should start.
hmm
And it's just like, Nas, he still played 27 plus minutes in Game 4, but it's like, oh, like, Julius Randle's kind of neutered that part of it. Even Rudy Gobert has held up really well defensively in this series, which was
yep,
never really a question. It's always about the offense. And he's like
right.
kind of done enough there to where it's like the Warriors haven't made them pay.
Nope.
Like Rudy Gobert's been good enough on offense to where the Timberwolves hadn't have to think about, oh, do we need to lower his minutes a ton at any point?
As you look at, let's assume the Wolves win it. We'll do our full look ahead at some point, or our series preview. But like, do you think broadly the Wolves have been tested enough or in ways in this series that tells you anything about how they might fare against the Thunder or Nuggets? Or do you think they're still like they shouldn't be favored against either of those teams? Or like, do you still have, because you can't really say, like, I guess the Randall piece of it has been encouraging, but I don't know that you can take away anything super meaningful about like the Wolves' overall quality from a series where Steph Curry plays like less than half of one game.
Well, I think the other thing too is, so look at the two teams that they faced to this point that just tilt so far towards the smaller end of the spectrum. Whatever team awaits in the next round is going to be appreciably larger for
Right.
them. The Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Franco, and like OKC does downsize at points, but Denver's huge. I know Michael Porter Jr. is not healthy, but him, Aaron Gordon, and Nikola Jokic, even
hmm
Christian Brown's like really strong, has good
He
size.
plays
Peyton
bigger
Watson,
than a two guard. Yeah.
yeah, Peyton Watson's what is he, 6'8" or whatever? So
hmm
like I will be I don't know. I wouldn't expect them to be favored, but it would be, I haven't seen enough to be like, and the thing I don't trust about the Wolves, which might run counterintuitive to what we've seen this series, it is their offense. I know
hmm
some people have kind of harped on the defense, but it's their offense. I've just seen too many low lows
For
from
sure.
them. And so it's like in this series, okay, like, yeah, when the threes go in, like, yeah, look at how versatile they are on the offensive end. Look what Julius Randle can do. Like, we're not far removed from that Lakers series where they had like two of the worst 3-point shooting performances. Like, there's just those like turbulent swings from them on the
Yeah.
offensive end. Like Anthony Edwards in some ways is kind of the, like, typifies that. And he typified it in Game 4. Like what he was like kind of through what, 2.5 quarters or whatever versus what he is at the end. So I wouldn't be pessimistic about Minnesota's chances, but I'll frame it this way. I wouldn't have a great feel for how what they've done so far translates to either of those matchups.
That's my sense too. And I can hear all the Wolves fans saying like, welcome to the 24-25 Wolves
Right.
experience. Cause that's just kind of been, that's pretty close to what the whole season has felt like, where it's like the highs have been incredible and the lows are just like, this team's never going to beat anybody. It's just, and it's all the same guys just playing differently, like on night to night or like week to week.
Do you think it helps though that they've already beaten kind of this version of the Nuggets?
Well, that's the other, I was going to say, like, they'll be confident if it's Denver that they get.
Especially if Nikola Jokic is still playing the way that he was.
Especially if he's going to make 30% of his shots for
Yeah.
whatever it is, a 3-game stretch. Yeah, that's the Nuggets are beatable if Jokic shoots 30%. Yeah, they'll be confident, but I would still, just looking at it now, I think I'd probably favor Denver. I would definitely favor the Thunder. Even though both of those teams have looked pretty flawed, but part of that's because who they're playing against each other, and they're both really good, so they can make each other look pretty bad sometimes.
My final question on the Wolves, though, because I did just say I don't trust their offense. Do you think that the pinnacle of their offense is more dynamic with Julius Randle than it was with Karl Anthony Towns?
More dynamic, yeah. Because Randall just does more with the ball than Cat ever did. I
The
think.
live dribble, just playmaking out of drives, which is just something Cat's never really done. Like he needs to be at a
Yeah,
standstill to do
and
it for the most
and you
part.
see it with the Knicks too, where Cat he took 4 threes. Like what? Like how
Can we not? That's like, who do you blame that on? I don't want to make this about the Knicks again, but it's because Towns just like, it feels like he's only taking threes when he doesn't want to get all the way up the floor. He's like trailing in transition. He's
Yeah,
going to pop them from long range. And then I'm like, is that on Towns or is this on Tibbs? Because Towns' 3-point volume has been an issue before Tibbs.
right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's him. Maybe he just I don't know. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I think with Randall, there's just a playmaking dimension
Yeah.
that isn't there with Towns or wasn't there with Towns. Like, I don't think Randall. I mean, I don't know. At the moment, like it's pretty close call who's actually a
Well,
better player today. But I mean, I think Towns is a better player. But right now, Randall is playing better, and Randall is giving the Wolves stuff they wouldn't have gotten from
he
Towns.
he took, I don't know if you saw this, he took shots at the Knicks too, where
No,
when he gave an interview, I think it was John Krasinski of The Athletic in his piece, Randall mentioned like, yeah, like I'm not standing around now. And it was just like, that's like, is Tom Thibodeau listening?
it's like, man, he's really mad about those New Orleans years, I guess.
Yeah, right. It is guess a player time, falling into the gap. Let's not waste any time as we fall into the gap, Grant. How about I begin with some
Okay.
clues for you? This one comes from Austin. Clue number 1. I am one of only 8 players to have won the Triple Crown, an NCAA championship, an NBA championship, which I won with the Boston Celtics, and an Olympic gold medal. I also won 2 high school basketball state championships and a bronze medal in FIBA basketball.
Jeez. Okay. Well, this is Austin, you said. But
Yeah, consider the source.
a Celtics championship though. And you said a NBA title, collegiate title, and a gold medal.
Yes.
I mean, Tatum's got 2 of the 3. I don't think that Duke team won it. I mean, the Celtics have so many championships.
Do high school basketball championships not like, is there like a quad one? Like what's considered like the four, the
I
home
don't know. I
run?
feel like there's so many like divisions in high school. There's like the 5A state or whatever, and the 4. I don't understand high school sports. Is the takeaway. It can't be Jayson Tatum. I will say Bill Russell just because.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
We move on to clue number 2. Known for my defensive prowess, I was named to the NBA All Defense Second Team 4 times.
That's definitely not Bill Russell. Better than that. All good defender. I guess all we know is Boston. Just highly decorated. Man, I don't know. Tommy Heinsohn.
No, good guess though. I think this would be a clue that I think you could get it on. Clue number 3. I had a short-lived coaching career as I was head coach of the Dallas Mavericks for 1 season, posting a brutal 13-69 record.
Oh, who was in charge of the really bad Mavs? Although there were a lot of really bad Mavs.
Nico Harrison is not.
They're fine now. What? Can you read that one more time?
I had a short-lived coaching career as I was head coach of the Dallas Mavericks for 1 season, boasting a brutal 13-69 record.
I don't know. I'll say Dick Motta.
No, that's a good guess.
Did he coach the Mavs? I think
I
so.
have no idea. That's incredible. Clue 4. While rocking my cream and crimson threads and boasting an impressive 37-game win streak, sweeping the entire Big Ten by an average of 22.8 points per game. Now, this is college, so I would have gotten it here.
Cream and crimson, is that just Indiana? I guess. I mean, that's just red and white, though. I'm going to need another clue.
Clue 5. I played both basketball and football for the Hoosiers, so there you go. Earning all Big Ten honors in football as a freshman before focusing solely on basketball.
I have no idea. How many more clues are there?
There are 5 more.
Oh my God. All right, let's keep going.
Clue 6. I was selected to both the NBA by the Milwaukee Bucks and the NFL. the
Wow.
Washington, now known as the Washington Commanders.
Well, I demonstrated I did not know who played basketball and football in Indiana, so that doesn't help. Next, please.
Clue 7. My first name is actually William, but everyone calls me by my middle name, which is blank.
Okay, don't know. What's next?
Oh my God. Clue 8. Some notable former teammates of mine include Sidney Moncrief, Larry Bird, Rick Carlisle, Danny Ainge, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, and Tiny Archibald. So this gives you like an era.
Yeah, so we're 70s, 80s. Sidney Moncrief. So that does a lot of Celtics, but isn't Moncrief was like mostly a Bucks guy, maybe? What are those names again?
Sidney Moncrief, Larry Bird, Rick Carlisle, Danny Ainge, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, and Tiny Archibald.
Okay, so it's Archibald though. I don't know. Wait, how many do I have left?
One more.
Just give me the last one.
Post NBA, I tested out a new career in broadcasting and am now the color commentator for the team I finished my playing career on.
And we're talking. Well, it's just Austin, so we say Pacers. Oh,
Who's the Pacers color
yeah,
commentator then?
Quinn Buckner, Dan. It's Quinn
That is
Buckner.
correct. That was clutch
Let's
stuff
go.
from you.
Let's go.
That,
Deal with that, Austin.
that college clue was nasty while rocking my cream and crimson threads. Nice job by you.
Ugh. Okay. Let's see. I will offer you one from Be Rich. Here we go. Clue number 1. After playing for a college team on the East Coast, I was drafted in the lottery and was on the all-rookie team only one time in my NBA career.
Wow, only one all-rookie appearance? That's rough. There's no year there?
No, college team East Coast, drafted in the lottery, was all-rookie just once.
So someone who was drafted from an East Coast college made an all-rookie team. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. Let me see. Can I name anyone who is like kind of on the Jalen Rose?
No, good guess. Clue number 2, my team finished 6th in the West, so we're in the West, my rookie year, before getting gentlemen swept in 5 games by Sam Cassell, Latrell Sprewell, and KG.
So that's the Timberwolves. They swept in the first round this player's team. I don't remember what team that was.
At least you know you're in the West.
Who would be a rookie in that era? I don't think you might have to give me the next clue here.
Okay. Clue number 3, my top 3 most similar players, according to Basketball Reference, so be prepared to be misled because these are always ridiculous, are Rasheed Wallace, AC Green, and Paul Millsap.
What in the hell? That second clue should be the one that helps me so far. I can't remember who Minnesota swept that year, which I wonder if that's the year that they made it to the conference final.
Well, it's a gentleman's sweep to be.
Oh, 4-1, duh.
So in case you're only thinking of sweeps, adjust your thoughts.
I still have nothing. Go ahead.
All right. Next clue. This will probably help. My career stats are 23.4 points, 6.5 boards, and 2.8 assists per game. I made second or third All-NBA teams a total of 7 times in my career, but never a first team. To be clear, AC Green and I were not similar players in any way other than maybe hanging around a few too many years.
Okay. Western Conference rookie around that time. Turned into an All-NBA player. Oh, this is tough. I feel like I'm going to hear the name and then get frustrated.
You've got 1, 2, 3 more clues.
Oh, shit. Give me another clue.
Next clue. 6 times I averaged more than 25 points per game in the playoffs. I made a conference finals only 1 time in 13 tries. I'm trying to think when that conference finals.
In 13 tries. Is that Carmelo?
Oh, you got it. It is Carmelo.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
what did it for you?
Just the playoff success one. I thought his name didn't come to mind because I really thought, I was like, he was around for like the KG era Timberwolves.
Well, that would have been 04, 05, right?
Yeah, I guess. Wow.
So that probably was the conference final Wolves, I think.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
So
right, go me.
Melo's conference finals appearance was with
in
the
Denver.
Nuggets. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Gotcha.
That year, what was it, 2012, 2013 with the Knicks? It looked like they were the second best team in the East. It looked like they went to that Pacers series, and it was just disaster.
That's like the Mike Woodson is the coach, like Jason Kidd, Tyson
The
Chandler
East is
team.
big, man. That's my what's. All right, your turn. Let's go. So first time submitter here, Grant.
Okay.
BJP.
All right.
Are you ready?
Don't know what to expect.
You can expect 3 clues because that's all you got.
Wow. Okay.
Clue number 1. I am one of the worst contracts in the league and cost my team a better player.
Well, I guess we're talking about right now. Worst contracts in the league cost my team a better player. So what?
You are not going to get this one.
You don't think? Well, I'm just trying to think in Discord, like, what's he complain about most contract wise? I'll just say Paul George.
No, incorrect. You're around the. You're like, I think you're on the right mindset track.
Okay.
Though. Clue number 2, and I want to reiterate, this is not Paul George. I am terrible at my quote unquote side hustle.
Okay. All right. Cost my team a better player, terrible contract, terrible at his side hustle, which like sort of has to be podcasting, I would think. Worst contracts in the league. Who else has got a podcast that's doing anything? I don't know. I'll say Jimmy Butler has a side hustle. Did he cost them? I can't say he cost the Warriors Kevin Durant. His contract's not great. Who's got a terrible contract?
I think that I will say I believe this is overstating how bad the contract currently is.
Okay. The costing his team, that feels like it should be a way into this because like when was this and where was like this either or decision at some point?
I have 2 bonus clues already for
Okay.
me that I think will get you there. If you
I'll
can't
take
get
the
it.
third clue then, please.
Clue number 3 from BJP. I did beat Duke in the NCAA tournament.
That's not going to help. I don't remember the last time Duke was in the final. Probably pretty recently. It was just in the tournament, so that doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. All right, what's my bonus clue?
I'm trying to think of what. I don't think this will be a dead giveaway. So the players that were traded to acquire this player.
Oh, okay.
Were Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Josh Hart, Didi Luzada, and Thomas Satoransky.
All right. So I guess this player is on. Is this CJ McCollum?
This is CJ McCollum.
Okay.
Who was drafted with
is it side hustle being the player's rep or whatever? Whatever his role is with the.
I mean, I really don't think that he helped out the CBA negotiation. If he was in charge in any way of that, I don't think the players made out.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine he actually had any real.
The deal is like not great, but it's about to be expiring, so that felt overstated.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad contract. All right. Okay. Let's see. I will go ahead and I'm not going to do BJP next because you need to have your brain cleansed before I can see one of the clues is like pretty similar. All right, this is from Mike. I don't think we've done this. This is okay. Cool. Clue number 1. I went undrafted in 2009 out of Marquette.
And it's a player I should know.
That's the idea. You are aware of this. You know who this player is.
All right. Who went to Marquette? I'm going to pretend like I would know who went to Marquette. Austin Crozier.
I do. Where did he go?
That was definitely not 2009.
No. All right. Clue number 2. I signed a 1-year deal with a Western Conference team my rookie year and eventually rose to the team's starting shooting guard after Ronnie Brewer was traded at the 2010 deadline. Ooh.
That was a Western Conference team?
Yeah.
Oof.
Do you associate Ronnie Brewer with the Bulls?
Yes. That's why I was curious.
Me too.
Was a starter as a rookie undrafted out of Marquette 2009. So that's like around when Steph comes into the league. Well, I got no idea. Next clue, please.
All right, this will give you a sense of like kind of what player type we're dealing with. After my rookie year, where I played all 82 games despite having just gone undrafted, I averaged 9 points a game, shooting 38% from three and a career high 40% from the field. That can't be right.
Career high 40% from the field. Are you sure I'm supposed to know who this player is?
Yeah, you do. Let me look that up. Let's
see. We're still
don't
in the
listen to the
2000.
keystrokes of me typing and try to guess how long the name is.
Yeah, hold on. Everyone be really quiet so I can listen to it. 2009.
Oh, and then it's sorry. And then he after that rookie year where he was previously undrafted, shot 38% from three, career high 40 from the field. He hits free agency.
Well, yeah, on a 1-year deal as a rookie. Gilbert Arenas?
No. Okay, so the career high was not 40% from the field. That rookie year he shot 48% from the field, which was a career high. So
well, this changes everything about my guesses.
Well, just like that would be a weird player that only ever shot 40% from the field.
Yeah. And then I'm supposed to know who they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marquette.
All right.
Next clue, please.
Clue number 4. Here you go. I signed with Portland for 5 years and $34 million, where I would be a full-time starter, averaging around 15 a game for my entire tenure there.
Is that Wesley Matthews?
That is Wesley Matthews. I was about to say, I think you're going to get it here. Good job.
I did not know he went to Marquette. I did know he went undrafted.
Ooh, I think I had it back. I think I knew Marquette, but not that he was undrafted.
Okay.
That rookie year was Utah, by the way, which like kind of I vaguely remember now.
I don't remember Ronnie Brewer on the Jazz. I'm not gonna lie.
I do now, but I'm not sure if that's something I actually remember or now that it's like a fact. I can picture Ronnie Brewer in a Jazz jersey.
Are you ready to get into the mindset of a sociopath?
Yes.
Clue number 1 from B Rich. I was taken in the first round of the 2014 draft by a Western Conference team.
We've established I'm not good at this kind of
theory, if you were to like kind of mathematically, you could narrow it down to like 15 players if you think that all of the teams each had a first round pick. That's probably not how it worked, but
well, let's see. I was going to say Andrew Wiggins, but he was actually drafted by the Cavs, and I'm also not sure that that's 2014. So got a few issues there. Enes Kanter.
No, that's a good guess though.
Is it?
Clue number 2. I went to high school in Paris, even though you do not recognize international schooling as proper.
Well, that should help. I went 2014, went to high school in Paris, first rounder in the West. Batum is too old.
This is a really good guess a player.
I'm glad you like it. Who went to 2014? Why is that such a dead period in like my remembering drafts?
It's the year after the Anthony Bennett draft, if that helps.
Well, so it is the Wiggins draft then, right? I think.
2014, yeah, isn't it? I'll double check that.
But I also can't remember who else was in that draft.
Well, I don't really know how that's going to help you, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it was Wiggins was drafted in 2014.
Paris, that's interesting. No, I don't have any. How many clues are there? Do I need to start panicking yet?
No, you have, I think you got 4 more left.
Okay. Let's continue.
Clue 3. In my 11-year career, I've played for 2 teams. I've attempted 6 threes total for my entire career and made none of them.
Oh, nice. Okay. 2 teams. First one was in the West. Not shooting a lot of threes. French guy. Is this just Rudy Gobert?
No.
Oh, he was a second rounder.
Wasn't he the end of the first round?
Oh, now I don't remember. Wasn't it like
Rudy Gobert though, so it doesn't matter.
Well, then and the Nuggets drafted. Wasn't he a Nuggets pick and they traded him? Just so I can like say some things I actually do know to cover up what I don't know.
Gobert was drafted in 2000. You're 1 year 27th overall in 2013.
Okay. Oh, so wow, he was a first rounder.
Yeah, and he was traded. The Nuggets traded him for Eric Green and cash.
Wow,
that worked out for the Jazz.
Could he have played with Jokic? Probably not. Although they were more worried about Nurkic at the time.
Could Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray and Jokic play together? Who knows?
I think they would have found a way. I think they would have been all right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Let's continue.
Oh, I thought you were gonna get it. I'm not
Really?
gonna lie. Yeah. Clue number 4. I've led the league in rebounding once during the 2020-2021 season, and am top 10 in rebounds per game for current NBA players. I've also led the league in field goal percentage once for my career.
Wow. Okay. Who's just getting tons of rebounds? Andre Drummond.
No, did you think Andre Drummond went to high school in Paris?
You never know, man. Also, he was not drafted by a Western Conference team. Just trying to think of rebounders here. Let's see. I mean, I have no reason to believe he went to school in Paris, but Steven Adams.
No, I like
Okay.
that one though. You want the next clue?
Let me see if I can think of one more rebounder from the West. That I should get it right. Like, how many different
I'm
guys?
not saying you should have gotten it now, but based off your previous, like your initial guess, I thought you were about to get it.
Based off of my
Rudy Gobert guess.
Oh, all right. I feel like you're trying to help me, and I appreciate it. God damn, who else even? I don't know. I'll take another clue.
Clue number 5. Dan hates my name because my first name is one syllable and my full name is alliterative. That's not true at all. I mean, the one syllable first name is whatever, but I love alliteration. Where's this coming from?
Wait, the one syllable first name, but it's alliterative?
With the first and last name is an alliteration.
But
have I ever come on the podcast?
I don't know
and
what you have
alliteration. What are we talking about?
Against Al Aginsa. that's his friends call him Al.
His name is also Alexis.
I know. Well, if you know him pretty well, you call him Al.
If you know him pretty well.
Let's see. Who's a good?
It's just golfing with Aginsa.
Yeah. Also, probably never led the league in rebounding, I would guess.
I will also give you another clue. It's not Alex Abrinas either. If you
okay. Yeah, the whole alliterative thing that could rebound should really just. I should have had it by now.
The final clue. I believe you will get it.
Well, you thought I was going to get it on Rudy Gobert.
I didn't think that clue you were going to get it. I thought because you guessed Rudy Gobert that you were going to get it.
Oh, because I picked a French guy
you haven't mentioned Frank Ntilikina yet, which I am.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess was he in the league in 20? What the only year we have is 2014 to 2020. What year was his draft? Do you remember? I'm like, of course you remember.
Whose draft? Ntilikina's?
Ntilikina.
He was the 2017 draft? Damn, I'm gonna have to look now. He's been in the league for a minute. Do you want to know what my comp was for Frank Ntilikina?
Wait, it can't be this guy. And no, because his first name has 2 syllables. I'm going the alliterative route. So Bismack Biyombo, not him.
I was right about the Frank Ntilikina draft. By
2017.
Yeah.
What pick was he? Like 8?
He was 8. You were right about that. Do you want to know who I compared him to?
I don't know. It's probably not any more ridiculous than I thought. Emmanuel Mudiay was going to be incredible.
A better shooting and better passing version of Avery Bradley.
I mean, most are.
Better passing version, maybe, but
didn't turn out. The shooting part didn't help you there. So in my brain, just for a little window, I'm going like through the alphabet, which is always fraught for us. Just trying to think of alliterative guys.
It's like what comes after L.
Yeah. M-N-O. Probably not O. There's not an alliterative O guy. P. Probably not a Q. You'd remember that. Yeah, I don't know. I'll take the last clue.
The final clue. My nickname is Swiss Bank.
Swiss Bank.
All right, now if you don't get this, you are probably going to hate yourself. Is my
okay.
Guess.
Swiss Bank. Have you heard that nickname before?
Yes.
What?
So have you? Yes.
And it's alliterative?
Well, his name, not the nickname. Obviously.
Yeah. Well, it's like, so is this a Swiss person? Why can't I think of any Swiss players? 2014, lots of rebounds. Yeah, I hate Bill's really got my number. Like it's pretty clear now. I don't know what if he's like picking people that I just like have mental blocks for, or is it like I'm being beaten by knowing the clue is from him? Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. You're gonna have to edit around me just like sitting here thinking quietly.
Well, I can try. You want some bonus clues? Or you just want me to tell you who it is? You want a
I'll
bonus
take a
clue?
bonus. I'll take a bonus clue.
When this player entered the league, he on the team that he played, like drafted him and he played for, he was behind in the rotation Dwight Howard and Donatas Motiejunas.
Um,
He was also, if you want to be technical, behind Francisco Garcia as well.
was he playing behind forwards and centers? So he's on the Rockets. Man, Motiejunas. I feel like Motiejunas has come up like 3 times in Guess a Player, and not because he's ever been Guess a Player. Terrence Johnson was the guy I was trying to think of last time. We were thinking of guys that got in trouble or something, or like had a bad off-court thing. I think that's who that was.
Terrence Jones.
Terrence Jones. Yeah, you're right. See, I can't even remember Terrence Jones. I really good rebounder behind. I mean, it's not like Omar Ashik is not alliterative or French or Swiss. or can I just name a bunch of players and then say, but they're not any of the clues? Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's. I should have guessed it by now.
He was traded in a 4-team deal in February 2020 to the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So I've never heard. Yeah, it's Clint Capella. Swiss Bank. Yeah, he's Swiss. Did the French. The high school. The Paris thing
throws you off. Yeah,
throws me off. That they really got me. Yeah. Now I even knowing. Yeah, I should have got it on the alliterative and the rebounding thing.
Look, I don't want to sound hyperbolic, but you've brought shame upon yourself and your entire family.
Yeah, feels a little like that. Okay, let's see. What do I have?
Let's do one more each.
Okay. I think I gotta go to the Mike Well. Oh no, I got a BJP one. All right, Dan. You also have 3
after the one he gave you. Is it one clue?
You have 3. It fills up 1 line, so they're short. All right. Some of these clues may sound familiar. Clue number 1, he has one of the worst contracts in the league.
All right. Who is he complaining about? Paul George.
Correct.
Yes, watch out, Gil.
That's why I went that. So I didn't look at who the player was, and I guessed Paul George for the worst contract in the league. Good job. Clue number 2 was he's terrible at his side hustle, and then you said not Paul George on the last one. Clue number 3, he plays in one of the worst cities in the league. Just shots being fired.
My God. Well, BJP is a Celtics fan, so we'll give him a pass during this difficult.
So tough times. Tough times right now.
I have one from Mike for you.
Okay.
All right. You got 13 clues here.
Oof.
Clue number 1. I was selected in the top 10 in 1998. You got a year here. That's big.
98. We already Antoine Jameson.
No.
I don't think that's the right year exactly. Vince Carter. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Clue number 2. I played in all 50 games in my lockout shortened rookie year, only starting one of them.
Okay. I forgot that was the lockout year. So that's definitely not Antoine.
You know what also happened that year?
What's that?
The Knicks went to the finals.
Top 10 in 98. Played in all 50. Only started one. That's okay. What's the next clue?
Clue 3. I started 5 out of 50 games in year 2 with the team that drafted me, but my scoring totals remained exactly the same, 10 points per game in both seasons. I did raise my 3-point percentage to 22%, though. I was traded mid-season to Golden State as part of the Tony Kukoc trade.
Oh, my God. I forgot they had Tony. Okay, so gets to the Warriors as a third-year player coming off 10 a game. Top 10 pick in 98?
Yes, sir.
So he's on the Warriors in 2000. Top 10 pick in 98. Oh man. The 3-point shooting thing is weird.
I think I forgot how many teams this player played for. There's your bonus clue.
Yeah. Man, they've cycled. That's a rough stretch of Warriors history right there. There's a lot of different. 98 though. Okay. Next clue, please.
Clue number 4. And if one of us was going to get it on this clue, it would be you.
Okay.
If that's any consolation. I was in the 2000 dunk contest.
Oh. 2000 dunk contest. Top 10 pick. Ends up on the Warriors around 2000. I should get this. Well, this presumes that he was on the Warriors in 2000 and is in that dunk. I don't think there was a Warrior in, because that 2000 is the Vince Carter contest. I think.
I believe you are correct, sir.
Yeah. So let's see. Did they ever have 10 pick Fred Jones? I'll just start naming guys. Fred Jones.
That is incorrect.
Desmond Mason.
Also incorrect.
None of those guys were ever Warriors, so I don't know why I'm saying that.
It's not Quentin Post either. If you want to get out in front of that.
Bob Sura.
No.
Oh man, these are good clues. Okay, I don't know.
In the back, clue 5. In the back half of the 2000 season with the Warriors, I averaged 22 points per game.
Larry Hughes?
Correct.
Okay.
Let's run. He had so many clues. Let's run through a couple of them. 6, I spent 2 additional seasons in the Bay with diminishing returns each year. Clue 7, I bottomed out for a year or two in Washington before exploding for 22 points a night again in a contract year in 2004, 2005. Clue 8, that offensive explosion convinced the Cavs to sign me to a 5-year, $70 million deal in the offseason, and I was ellipsis fine. Clue 9, they then traded me to Chicago in 2008 for Ben Wallace and Joe Smith. Traded with me were Drew Gooden and Shannon Brown. Clue 10, the next year at the deadline, I was traded to the Knicks for Tim Thomas and Jerome James. Clue 11, the next deadline, I was traded to the Kings in the T-Mac deal. Clue 12, by the way, the last full season I played in Cleveland was the final time I shot over 40% from the field. That was in 2006, 2007. Clue 13, I retired in 2011, 2012 after a 9-game stint with Orlando where I shot 23% from the floor.
I did not remember he was a top 10 pick or that he was in a dunk contest.
I thought you were going to get it on the dunk. I was like, Grant's going to have the knowledge of who was in the
I have like no memory. So he must have been in the, did he just get eliminated in the first round or something? Like, I don't remember that at all. All right.
Let's go to who is Bill Walton talking about, Grant?
Okay.
You ready for some of these? Who is Bill Walton talking about? He's the anti-Kwame Brown, but Stephen A. blank has never played a meaningful NBA game. Is he talking about Ron Artest, Ira Newby, Pau Gasol, Maurice Evans, or DJ Mabenga?
What is the Stephen A. part of this? I don't know.
He's kind of saying it looks like
he's like talking to Stephen A.
Yeah, so I'm just reading it based off the punctuation. I should read it. He's the anti-Kwame Brown, but Stephen A. He's never played a meaningful game in the NBA.
Okay, now try it like you're sad. Have you do line readings?
He's the anti-Kwame Brown.
I would like to say DJ Benga because that's a fun name to say.
That is incorrect. It was Pau Gasol.
Oh, okay.
Grant, who is Bill Walton talking about? Blank is treating this game like a buffet line. A, Shaquille O'Neal. B, Eddie Curry. C, Sean May. D, Robert Traylor. Or E, Raymond Felton.
Wow. Real through line for those guys, especially late career. I'm going to say Raymond Felton.
That is incorrect. It was Robert Tractor Traylor.
Got it.
Final one. Grant, who is Bill Walton talking about? Why have they not yet figured out that he is left-handed and will likely continue to be for the duration of this game? Lamar Odom, Morris Peterson, Zion Williamson, Dylan Brooks, or Manu Ginobili?
I'm
dying at this quote.
I was really hoping for like only right-handed players to be on the list, just to make it better. I will say Lamar Odom.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I did not know Mo Peterson was left-handed. If any consolation.
Lamar Odom was very, as lefties often are, he was very left-handed, and he stayed that way.
You say for the entire
The whole,
game.
the whole time.
Incredible. You have anything else you want to add, or are you ready to exit Gap and take us into the future?
Let's fall out of the Gap. Thanks everybody for listening, for watching, for submitting. Rate, review, subscribe, do all that
Share
good
these,
stuff.
damn it! If you share all our
share 'em.
episodes, if you want Gap so badly, start pumping the content for us, promoting it. Thank you.
We will, no questions asked, do any gaps that are submitted by people that get 100 subscribers somehow, even 50. I don't know. Shouts Frank Ntilikina. Apologies, Jared Allen.